Hey, Matt here with Mob Street and 2019 TW200, and today we're going to be doing an oil change on it. So I'm going to walk you through the process, which is extremely simple, a few basic tools, and we're going to show you how to do just your basic oil change. So yeah, let's get started. So the great thing about changing the oil is you only need the owner's manual for the instructions on how to change the oil and how often to change the oil. So, since this bike, I bought it brand new, it says to change, the oil first at 600 miles and then at 4,000 miles. So, that is what we're going to do. I'm a little over the 600 mile mark right now, but that's okay. We're going to change it anyways. So I chose the AMSOIL 10W40 because it does call for a 10W40 weight, and then I'm just going with the Tusk brand oil filter there. And let's show you where we need to work on the bike. So first of all, this is coming to the right side of the bike here. Your oil filter is going to be right here behind this cover. So you've got two 10mm bolts and then an Allen head here, and I'll tell you what size that is once we get to it. Right below here, this is your engine oil sight glass. So if the camera would kind of focus there for me. On the side stand, it's not really going to show you anything, but I'm going to tilt the bike up here a little bit. Get in there to show you our sight glass. And as you can see, the oil is in there now. So with the bike on its side stand, it's not going to show you how much oil is actually in there. So if you're checking it, make sure that the bike's in an upright position, because if not, you're going to look at that and go, oh my gosh, my bike's out of oil, when it's really not. So again, on the right side of the bike, your oil fill cap is going to be right there. Come on, you stupid camera. Right there is your oil fill cap. And then we're going to go over to the other side of the bike. And your oil drain plug bolt is going to be that guy right there. And again, I'll tell you the size on that once we get to it. So that right there is your oil drain bolt. That one right there. And again, I'll tell you the size on that once we get started. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is get the bike warmed up, because once the oil is warm, it's going to take all the contaminants that are in there and get them all basically into the oil, floating around in the oil, so when you go to drain it, everything's going to come out of there. So once the bike's warmed up, you're going to come in. You can set it on the side stand to do this part. You're going to open your oil fill cap, and that's going to allow air in there into the case, and it's going to help push all that fluid out of there. So take your cap off. Next, you want to make sure you've got a good drain pan for the oil to go into. So this is a 7 quart, but the bike, when you change the oil, is only about 1.1 quarts. So this is more than adequate for what we're going to be doing. But you want to make sure that you've got a drain pan. If not, one thing that I've used that's worked quite well is those aluminum baking tins that you can get for like $1 at Walmart or the dollar store, anything like that. So just make sure you've got a suitable drain pan. And then you're going to come over to the other side of the bike. And again, your drain bolt for the oil is down here underneath the left side. So we'll move that out of the way for a second. Now, you gotta remember that there is a spring behind this drain pole that's holding the oil strainer in place. So there will be a little bit of spring tension on there. But we're just gonna break it loose here real quick. And it is, again, a 19mm bolt. So we're just gonna crack that loose. Now, remember, the oil is warm because you just warmed it up. So chances are that you could get burned here. So if you've got gloves, it might be a good idea to use them. Those black nitriles that you can easily, throw away are a good option. So we've got our bolt loose. Now we're going to take this off. And that is really warm, so actually I'm going to get a pair of gloves. As much fun as it is to get burned, it's not really that much fun. So just get you a good pair of disposables. And it's still going to be warm, but this will give you a little bit of protection there. So again, go back down here, and we're going to grab our drain bolt. And if it falls into the tin, that's okay. You can retrieve it once it cools down. Your oil will start draining. There we go. So there's your cap. And once that oil drains out of there a little more, we're going to pull our spring that's holding our strainer in place. And we'll pull our strainer out as well. There we go. Just like that. So put that back in the cap right there. And I'll grab a rag, and then you just let the oil drain. And you're good that way. Grab us a rag here. Okay, while that oil is draining, you want to pull your strainer out of the spring here. And you just want to give it a good visual inspection. So, don't know if you can see on there, this is all brand new. Right here. This is all the break-in period. The oil looks really clean. There's a few things in there, but nothing too major. So, we're going to take this and clean it off as best we can. There we go. And again, this is a brand new bike, so you do have the break-in period with that, so a little bit of metal here and there is okay as long as you don't have super huge chunks. This is when the bike, is really going through its break-in period. So we'll clean that, and we are good to put that back on our spring and reinstall that behind our cap once, our oil is done draining. So next thing we're going to want to look at is our oil cap and the oil cap O-ring. So with this being a brand new bike, there's not much I'm really worried about here. One thing that you're going to want to check for is just nicks or tears here in the O-ring. And if there's anything that looks, like the O-ring is coming apart at all or going to jeopardize its sealing integrity, you want to change that out. They're fairly inexpensive. You can get them directly from Yamaha, your Yamaha dealer, or there's a bunch of aftermarket retailers online that you can find that with. So that one looks really good. I'm not overly concerned about it. So that, once our oil is done draining, we can reinstall it, and we'll get it torqued down to what it recommends we torque it to, and we'll go from there. Okay, we're gonna wait for our oil to quit dripping here. And once it does, we're just gonna get a rag and we're gonna wipe out that spring and oil strainer bore, and we can reinstall our oil cap and strainer. Okay, our oil is drained pretty much for the most part now. It is just, lightly dripping. So we're going to take our rag here. We're going to wipe off our O-ring mating surface so it's nice and clean, no debris. One thing I did forget to mention, if your bike is filthy, it's a good idea to clean it so that once you open up the oil filler cap and this oil drain bolt here, you're not getting any dirt or debris into anything, which could wreak havoc on the inside of your engine, and you don't want that. So just do another little visual inspection there of your oil strainer. And if it needs to be cleaned off, you'll just wipe it down. Check your mating surface again. Make sure it's all good. Clean out that bore a little bit. Our strainer and our spring in. Now, there's these little ridges right here in the cap that you want to make sure the spring is going to fit into. So you take your cap, slide it up into place, and just start reinstalling it by hand. Get those first threads in there by hand, and that'll help align your spring, and it's going to keep you from getting your cap cross-threaded. So we've got that now. And grab our wrench, just tighten it back up. Now you can torque this at this point, which is not a bad idea. If you have a torque wrench, great. The book calls for 32 foot-pounds of torque because we're here in the States and we use foot-pounds and not Newton meters. So it's an easy conversion if you are outside the States and you do use Newton meters. So we'll just get that back into place. Now, if you don't have a torque wrench, your 19 millimeter will tighten it down fairly well. You don't have to have the strength of Thor to tighten this bolt down. I mean, it's just once you get it snug, you're good. We've got our torque wrench here with our 19 millimeter socket, so we'll just put it on there. And we'll get it into place. There we go. And your oil filter cap, or your oil drain plug is now secure and torqued to spec. So we'll go to the other side of the bike now. Okay, now we're back over on this side of the bike, and we are going to take off our oil filter cap. So again, like I stated on the other side, you want to make sure that's cleaned up before you pull that off, and then that way you're not getting any dirt or debris. So this one isn't too bad, just some light dirt on this side, so go ahead and just wipe that off. Now, it's going to be easier to have the bike upright on this side so the oil can drain out of the oil filter cavity. So to do that, I just use my little scissor jack here, put it up underneath the frame just to make the bike stand up straight. And you're going to take your 5 millimeter Allen. Oh, and I was wrong at the beginning of the video also. These are 8 millimeter bolts, not 10 millimeters, so I apologize for that. But you're going to take your 5mm right here. And again, remember, the oil is hot, so you can pull this out, and that will drain the oil filter cavity. So set that one aside. We'll let that drain out for just a second. Again, make sure you've got a suitable draining or oil container. And we'll get our 8mm T-handle here. We're going to loosen those other two and just let the remainder of that oil drain out. Now, use a little bit of caution so you don't drop these two 8mm into your drain pan, because then it's more of a mess and you don't want that either. So just take that one out, set it aside. Take this one out. This one is longer, so just remember, this one goes through the case into, the case cover into the case. So that is your top right bolt. You're just going to grab your cover here, and it might be stuck a little bit, so just a little soft mallet will break that loose if you need it to. And then you're just going to pull. There's your oil filter cap, your oil filter cap O-ring, and then this right here is your filter element. It could be a little stubborn to get out of there, so we're going to grab our trusty little pick here, reach inside of that, and just pull that out. Here we go. That is our oil filter. So again, this is break-in. So you're going to have, all those are tiny little metal pieces that come off from everything. If you just squeeze that through your fingers, you'll see none of those are big chunks, which in this case is normal with the break-in. So just do a little visual inspection of that there. And go ahead and set that aside. And we'll grab our rag here. Make sure it's clean, or grab a clean side of it. And if you're not sure, just grab a new one. And that way you're not getting anything into that filter cavity that's not supposed to be there. So take that, and we'll get all that wiped off. And there we go. Gonna grab our new filter, and we're just gonna do a visual inspection that it is the same as the old. It looks just like it. So we'll set that down back in its box so that we know it's not getting dirty. Then we're going to look at our oil filter cap O-ring, just like we did with our drain plug O-ring. And again, this one is on a brand new bike. Now that doesn't always mean that these are going to be in great shape, but this one is. So I'm not overly concerned about that there. We'll get it all cleaned out. Now, you go to put this back into place. A lot of people, they'll just dip their finger back in the old oil and put it in. I think that's not the smartest idea. So we'll just get some new oil. We'll put it on these sealing rings here. And again, I chose AMSOIL just because I've used it for about 15 years with the Harleys that I've worked on, and all the other bikes I've worked on. I've had really, really good luck with it. So a good 10W40 will suffice, but this AMSOIL I'm a big fan of. So I'm just going to dip my finger in there a little bit. Get those O-rings with a little bit of oil on them. We'll just take this. We're just going to push it right back into place there. So we'll grab our cap. Again, make sure nothing's on it. And we're going to put it back into place. Now, one thing to remember too is there's a little O-ring right here that's going to fit around this mating surface right here. So make sure that's still there. Again, if it's damaged, go ahead and replace it. So again, it's not that expensive. And you're already into there anyway, so just go ahead and change it out. I'm going to put our cap back on. And then just again start, just finger tighten those bolts. And again, these are both 8 millimeters. So just get those started there. Get our 5 mil back in the bottom. And we'll get our torque spec. We'll put those all back to where they need to be. And then your oil filter element is changed. And then the only thing to do after that is to put oil back into the machine. So we're coming back over here to our oil filter cap, and we're going to torque these down. Now again, if you don't have a torque wrench, these only call for 7.5 foot-pounds, which is 10 Newton meters, which is roughly 90 inch-pounds. So it's about 87 inch-pounds if you want to be exact. But we're going to go to 90, which will be just fine. So again, our 5 millimeter bolt here, we're going to take our torque wrench, and it broke right there. So not a lot of torque on those. If you don't have a torque wrench, again, don't use, monstrous amounts of force on tightening those because they don't need it. We'll do this one right there. Okay, those three are done. Now the only thing left to do is to put oil back into the bike. Now, with a filter change, it calls for 1.1 quarts. So I'm going to put a full quart in, check my sight glass. I'm going to run the bike, just to get the oil circulating through everything. And then I'm going to check my sight glass. And if I need a little bit more, I've got another quart that I can put there in. So we'll do that and we'll go from there. Okay, make sure your funnel's clean. Take your oil and just pour it into the fill plug there, or the fill hole. And again, it calls for 1.1 quarts, so I'm going to put this quart in, let it all drain in there, and drop it like a moron. Make sure all that's in there. And I'm watching my sight glass too. Now, with the viscosity of the oil, it's going to take a minute for everything, to settle. So, if you don't see anything in there right off the bat, don't worry, it's okay. So, we've got that in there. Take that out for a second. And inspect the O-ring right there on the top of your fill plug. Make sure it's in good shape too. It is warm here in the garage. These Utah summers can get pretty warm. So I'm going to look at our sight glass there, and that 1 quart is actually filling it up pretty good. So take our fill plug there, reinstall it. We're going to turn the bike on for a minute, make sure it's in neutral. Go ahead and start it up. Just get that oil circulating there. that should be enough to make sure, you know, the oil is all the way through everything. And if you check your sight glass, come down here. We're going to check our sight glass right here, and we are actually right in the middle of the marks with that 1 quart of oil. So let's bring the camera over to the other side of the bike. One thing you want to do too is just make sure you don't have any leaks, you know, from your cap, your oil drain cap right there. So some of the residual oil is going to be on there, but it's not dripping anything right now, so we're good. So next thing we'll do, we'll take the bike for a run, get everything going through there, and we'll check our oil again, and we should be good. Okay, so that's it. That's how simple it is to change the oil on your TW. Again, I only used 1 quart of oil. The book calls for 1.1. So I'll run it around a little bit, and then I will check my sight glass again just to make sure that my oil level has stayed where it needs to be. And then I'll double check it again just to make sure that there are no oil leaks coming out of the oil filter cap or the oil drain plug. So if there's anything that I missed, go ahead and comment below. Let me know, is this exactly 100% how to do it? No, could be different methods. I was just going out of what the owner's manual told us to do. So there, you know, could be different ways. But if there's questions or comments, you know, please go ahead and put them below. And there will be more motorcycle content coming. I've got more that I'm going to be doing with the TW. I'm just going to be doing basic maintenance that you can do on them at home. You know, adjusting the throttle, adjusting the clutch. Those videos will be coming shortly. This is a bike that I'm going to have for quite a long time, so I just want to make sure that I'm keeping it in good running condition. My family is going to be using it for years to come. I don't ever plan on getting rid of it. So also, I want to say thanks to my daughter for recording this for me. So if it's a little shaky, cut us some slack because it's your first time. But yeah, if you like this video, you know, go ahead and share it. If there's any other questions or comments or things that you want to see, feel free to comment. So again, I'm Matt with Mob Street, and thanks for watching.